All right, guys, so we got to talk about this. The Zionists are not okay. I repeat, the Zionists are not okay. They are struggling. It is very obvious. And to say this is coping is a disservice to the word cope. The word cope is not strong enough. We need to invent a new term that is above and beyond cope. It's like hyper cope, because this is just insane. So a former Obama speechwriter, Sarah Hurwitz, spoke at the Jewish Federation the other day. And she talks about how people are finding content now from Al Jazeera and Nick Fuentes on social media, and they're seeing the carnage in Gaza, and that's unacceptable. And Holocaust education in the U.S. is backfiring. It's backfiring. So listen to her argument, and then honestly, I could talk about this for like 5 hours straight with how much of a mind fuck this commentary is. But let's listen, and then we'll break it down.
I think that since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel. And I think that is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true in that social media is now our source of media. And this, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media, and it was pretty mainstream. It generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views. You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media. But today, we have social media, which is a global medium, right? Its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews. And so while in the 1990s, a young person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes.
By the way, let me just say, I love comparing those two. Al Jazeera, which is just, it's just a news outlet, right? It's just a news outlet. The funding comes, I guess, from Qatar, but, in the same way that the funding for the BBC comes from the British government, like they still do some decent work. Al Jazeera does some decent work too. So, but she's trying to say Al Jazeera and Nick Fuentes, they're basically like the same. It's like, what? No, one is an open neo-Nazi. The other is a news outlet with some questionable funding, right? Unbelievable, but we haven't gotten to the amazing part yet. Here we go.
Wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes. Today, those media outlets find them. They find them on their phones. It's also this increasingly post-literate media, less and less text, more and more videos. So you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of carnage in Gaza. And this is why so many of us can't have a sane conversation with younger Jews, because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage.
Do you understand how bad that makes you look? That you're trying to dismiss that young people have been fed accurate information and videos of what's happening on the ground in Gaza, and they're disgusted? Like, that's the point she's making. She's making the point, like, you're biased and your perception is skewed because you see the videos of what's actually happening in Gaza. So it's harder for me to propagandize you because you've seen with your own two eyes little babies being blown up and murdered and caught underneath the rubble, and children being shot in the face, and surgeons being shot while they're in the hospital, and World Central Kitchen workers being bombed, and UN buildings being bombed, and schools being bombed, and hospitals being bombed. And the Israeli government saying, hey, Palestinians, go to this safe zone over here, and then they bomb the safe zone. She's saying, I don't understand. My points aren't landing with you, and it's because you've seen the carnage, and so now my words are not as impactful as the carnage you've seen. Yeah, that's how it should be. That's the right reaction of the youth, to say, here's the evidence, here's the proof, here's what's the reality of what's happening. Why should I listen to your fucking opinionated ass if you are trying to say, that's not a big deal, don't look at that?
So I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage.
The data and the information and the facts, that's what the carnage is. That's data about what's happening. Those are facts about what's happening. She's trying to make it seem like, no, you're just being emotional. I'm being factual. Or young people are being both factual and correctly emotional about said facts. It's just so insane. Like, this is so insane. She is telling on herself here. She's telling on herself that, like, I don't care about the carnage. I don't even look at the carnage because I've made up a narrative in my mind that explains why that's okay. That justifies and rationalizes the sort of everyday atrocities that we've been witnessing.
And they are just seeing in their minds carnage, and I sound obscene.
Because you are.
And, I think, unfortunately, the very smart, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education, in this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit. Because, Holocaust education is absolutely essential. But I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-Black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless Black people. So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
You do understand she's saying that that's wrong, right? You do get that, right? That she's saying, oh, these young people have this mistaken notion that never again means never again for anybody. No, that's the correct notion. I've literally made this exact point on air that she's making. I've pointed out that one of the main reasons you see me crusading so hard against Israel and trying to defend Palestinians and trying to shine a light on what's actually happening is because, yes, Holocaust education was a big part of our curriculum in New Rochelle, New York, growing up. We learned about the Holocaust. We learned about the Armenian genocide as well. We learned about these things. And yes, the overarching message was like, we need to never allow this to happen again. And that, we read the book Ordinary Men, I believe it's called, in college. And basically the point of that book is to say, no, this sort of mania can sweep a country and can take over the minds of ordinary people. And so, but that Holocaust education taught me we need to be vigilant. We need to be aware. We need to hold ourselves to the same standards we hold other people to and hold our allies to the same standards we hold other countries to. Because this is just evil. This is just wrong. This is objectively fucked up. This is immoral. This is unethical. We can't allow this. So yes, it was Holocaust education that gave people like me and many others the moral compass to be able to look at what's going on now in Gaza and say, Israel is doing a genocide against Palestinians. They are doing ethnic cleansing against Palestinians. And she says, no, you guys got it fucked up. That's the message you took away from the Holocaust education. But the real one we wanted you to take away was never again, but just for Jews. And it was the message we wanted you to take away was, if Jews need to start massacring innocent people to prevent them potentially maybe having another Holocaust done against them, then they should be able to murder and massacre whoever the fuck they want to. So that's literally the implication of the argument she's making. She is saying, no, I don't mean never again for everybody. I don't mean that in this scenario, the Palestinians are the Jews and the Israelis are the Nazis. No, I don't mean that. What I mean is we are special and unique victims in history, and we get to do whatever we want because we are perpetually victims even when the state of Israel is acting as the aggressor. So it's so crazy to me that she said these words out loud. She said these words out loud. She actually thought she was freaking it by making this point. I'm sorry, this is just brainworms. This is just like a mind virus that we're watching here. Zionism it's a scourge. It's a scourge. By the way, let's just make this point as well. You cannot be a Zionist and also be a believer in democracy. Those are incompatible. Secular democracy means there is no state government. I mean, there is no state religion, right? That's what secular means. No state religion. And democracy is one person, one vote. We all get a say. You can't say, I believe in secular democracy, but I also believe in an ethno-state, because that's what Zionism is. It's advocating for an ethno-state. By definition, an ethno-state sets up a multiple-tiered society where you say, we have first-class citizens and second-class citizens, right? And you're either part of the class that's on top or you're not. Well, everybody's against that. That's what apartheid South Africa was, right? And now we all look at that like that was fucking barbaric and stupid. Why would I make one random, allow for one random example of that to continue? Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense to say, I'm against ethno-states, except in this one instance, in which case I think it's great, actually. And I think you're a bigot if you oppose it in this instance. Like, what? That's insane. But I don't know, man. It is just the fact that she said these words and thought she was freaking it. It's disturbing to me. It is genuinely disturbing to me. She inadvertently makes the case that young people are way more educated on the topic and know the facts about it, and they're disgusted by any of the people who try to justify it and rationalize it. And that generational divide is real, bro. Like, young Democrats are just totally done with Israel. But even like 50% of young Republicans are done. Now, I think it's a little different on the right because their anti-Israel stance genuinely comes from anti-Semitism, whereas on the left, their anti-Israel stance stems from our belief in humanism. So there is a difference there, but I mean, this is just disturbing. She basically is like, let's stop doing Holocaust education the way we're doing it because we're creating people who are sympathizing too much with Palestinians as the victim right now. Wow. All right, but I'm not done. So at this same fucking event, the man himself, John Fetterman, Mr. I had a stroke and I got brain damage and became a Republican, and Mr. I just had VFib and nearly died, but now I'm out here again. This is his return from his most recent health episode, culminated with him saying this.
Israel has had to push back and stand against the global condemnation and criticism, and as more and more people might back away, where what they've accomplished is profound, and it's also ends firmly on the right side of history, and it now it's the path forward. And regardless what continues to happen, I will always, there's no condition on whatever aid is necessary, whether it's military, intelligence, or financial.
He's bragging about, I would never condition aid to Israel. They could do whatever they want. I would always give them the aid, no questions asked.
And now some of these political elections, they are...
By the way, look how he dressed to go to this event too, by the way. Him dressing like this was cute and adorable when he was out there fighting for Medicare for all and supporting Bernie Sanders and acted like he was actually on the right side of issues. But as soon as he became a pro-genocide asshole, now he just looks like a fat slob.
Putting an anti-Israel position front and center. They'll even brag like, well, I won't take their money. I have and put out these ridiculous resolutions. In fact, 21 members in the House put out something, supported by an organization like Code Pink. I've had those people show up protesting in my office for the last 2 years.
So he's saying, can you believe that they're bragging about not taking Israeli money? Isn't that so crazy? No, that's correct. That's the morally right thing to do. And Code Pink is also a based anti-war group. This guy's so fucking gross. I hate him so much.
Like in two sides, it's like, my advice is like stand on the moral clarity, stand on the side of history and
Oh yeah, you're certainly expressing clarity. Moral clarity, no. Immoral clarity, yes.
And on the kinds of values that you only will see that we all want to live here in our nation is only in Israel, and look around. So, but thank you for the honor of joining with you here today.
By the way, let me just say this. I literally think there's nothing that Israel could do that would make John Fetterman break with them or criticize them. I think there's absolutely nothing they could do. I think that Israel can decide to use tactical nuclear weapons in Gaza or in the West Bank, and I think John Fetterman would defend it. In fact, we know they were using these like vacuum weapons that like suck all the air out of your lungs. Of course, there was no credit. He probably doesn't even know they were doing it, but if he did, he wouldn't care, right? I mean, they were bombing World Central Kitchen workers, and they were bombing UN buildings and schools and hospitals and all that stuff, sniping doctors, having sick sadistic games where they would shoot kids in the face. They had right to rape protests, pro-rape protests. They had those in Israel when you had a prison guard grape a Palestinian, right? They were like, no, he has a right to do that. That's what they were arguing. Fetterman, not a word of fucking condemnation, not a word of disagreement. Literally anything and everything they do, he will defend it. I swear if they were to nuke them, Fetterman wouldn't budge a fucking inch. And that is absolutely positively morally depraved. So I'm telling you, the Zionists are not okay, man. They have become so unhinged, so extreme, so untethered to reality, just outside of the realm of what everybody thinks is normal and acceptable, that I don't know how this can continue. I really don't. And this generational shift that we're seeing is fucking real. I get that Israel has the money, Israel has the power, the Israel lobby has, effectively bought the U.S. government, bought basically every Republican minus like a handful and, 80% of Democrats. I get all of that, but that money can only take you so far. That money can only take you so far when there's a real fucking generational shift that's happening. They're on borrowed time. I think they know they're on borrowed time, which is why they're panicking. So, but go ahead, keep talking, because the more you talk, the more Zionism is exposed as the evil project that it is. And I'm sorry, there just is no coming back from this. There is no coming back from this. You are never going to win the hearts and minds of people who are just regular people trying to pay the bills, trying to take care of their kids, trying to live a decent life. And every day they had to see babies getting blown up. And they watch you do a fucking song and dance trying to defend that and just immediately lose all credibility. So the more they talk, the more their support plummets. So I guess go ahead, keep running your mouths. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.